progress on this. All right, so with Kim's permission, I think I'm going to open this up with a story. Kind of maybe jumping ahead of the actual words a little bit, but I think it's important. She might not mind that I tell it because she likes to tell it herself a lot. But so I met Kim, we dated about 6 months, right? About 6 months into dating, I gave orders to deploy. And one of the first things she told me when we got together was, hey, when something happens, call and tell me. So I call and tell her at work, right? I'm deploying. Okay, like now? No, in 3 months. So she's like, okay, you didn't need to call me at work for that one, we're good. So that's not the real important thing. I know that one of our characteristics of our churches is that we're military. So by a quick show of hands, who in here has deployed before? Okay, so a couple people. You ever get in the desert and you're kind of plugging along and all of a sudden you develop this highly self-reliant, I can do everything myself because you're feeding yourself, you're doing your own dishes, you're taking your own laundry. Everything is back to, I'm just taking care of myself, right? And you forget about all the connections you have because you have to focus on what is in the moment right now and you have to take care of business. And then we got this thing that happens when we transition, we come back home, right? And then we're reintroduced to all those things. And it's so important that they've got this huge transition program that kind of sets it all up. I'm just going to give you kind of the giveaway here. I completely failed at that, and Kim was surely to remind me of it. So I come back January. Kim meets me at the airport. We get in the car, we're driving home, and I don't even remember what we were arguing about. Do you remember what we were arguing about? I'm just going to tell you now that as the man in the relationship, I caused it. That's just wise to know it was my fault. But we get to the point where I'm so full of that self-reliance, so full of that I can do it myself and I don't need anyone else, that I look at her and I say, I should have just stayed in the desert. To which she promptly looked at me and said, I'll take you back to the airport. So I tell that story for a reason, because this morning we're going to be in Luke chapter 18, verses 9 through 14, which is the parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector. Now, if you're catching on, my last sermon was about a parable, and this one is also going to be about a parable, but I think there's a lot of power in those words that Jesus shared with his disciples and those around him in those final days. I say that story to remind you of this. In that moment, I was very humbled in my place, and I had to very quickly acknowledge and realize that I needed Kim in my life. I was back home, I was back settled in, and I had to acknowledge what I had and what I needed. In much the same way that as we're growing and as we're transitioning to go out into service, we need God in our lives. And not just in the good times, but in the bad. And when Kevin asked me, so where's God speaking to you? When are you going to do your next sermon, and where's God speaking to you? And I gave him this chapter, and I'm not sure if that's exactly what he was expecting, but we're talking about growth, and we're kind of coming up on a conclusion of that. And I found one thing with growth, right? When times are bad, we pray to God. And we ask him, help me, help me, help me, help me, right? Give me the strength, give me the wisdom, give me the courage to do all these things for me. And then we artificially, after that, kind of forget that God helped us get there. Because as we start succeeding, as we start growing, we suddenly forget that God's part of the equation. And then we fall back to that artificial self-reliance that I can do it, I got this, I can press through, and really we have to go all the way up this sine wave to the peak. And then we got to go all the way back down before we realize that God's there. And then we go through the process of coming back up. So maybe a cautionary tale of why can't we eliminate the hills and the valleys a little bit. Let's push the line up, let's stay with God in the good times and in the bad. All right, so everyone there, Luke 18, 9 through 14. All right, we'll start. To some who were confident of their own righteousness and looked down on everyone else, Jesus told this parable. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. Does anyone have a translation of the Bible that says the publican there? No. Is the word Pharisee capitalized? Is the word tax collector capitalized? I want to draw you in on that because it's pretty important to how this parable develops. That one there is a proper noun and one is just a noun. The Pharisee stood by himself and prayed, God, I thank you that I am not like other people, robbers, evildoers, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week and give a tenth of all I get. Who is Jesus speaking to? Who is this parable designed for?
People who thought themselves righteous.
People who thought through their self righteous. It's important to note that, and the reason I called out the difference between the proper noun and the regular good old-fashioned noun that the tax collector is that was the times. Pharisees of the times were the men of men. They were the holy. They were looked upon as the greatest that there was. And these tax collectors are, forgive my translation, but the best that I can gather, they're what we would equate to today as your drug dealers, your predatory lenders, your people that are looked down upon for how they make their money, right? But they're still trying to make their money. So that's kind of where we stand here. And then we see in the Pharisees' prayer. What do you guys see? Nobody sees anything we can do awesome. What's that? I think it actually is the opposite. Of the Pharisee. The Pharisee. I stopped. Yeah. Self-righteousness, right? He's very proud. Very, very proud. Talks about all the good things he's done, right? How he's lived by the law, how he fasts and he tithes and he does all these good things that are handed down. And depending upon the translation that you've got, there's a pretty extensive list in some of them, and some of the other ones it's been concise down to just a couple. If you guys are curious, I'm in the NIV for mine. But here you've got this good Pharisee, who's one of the good people, who in his own prayer makes the comparison that, thank God I am not like this tax collector. I'm not like all these heathens. I am lifted. I am exalted above the station that is here on earth. And that's going to be a fact. And Jesus is about to let him know why. But real quick, I want to pull you back to Proverbs 11:2, where Solomon wrote, when pride comes, then comes disgrace. But with humility comes wisdom. There's an understanding there that I think the Pharisee is about to be woken up to. So we pick up in verse 13, and here we're focused purely on the tax collector. The next question. But the tax collector stood at a distance. He would not even look up to heaven, but beat his breast and said, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. See a difference there? Is there any self-righteousness? What do you see there, Allie? He's ashamed, right? He will not even lift his head up to God. He won't lift his head up to the heavens. That is how in touch or self-aware of his current circumstances and what he is doing for a living that he is, that he will not even pick his head up and look at the Lord or the crowd that stands in front of him. He's ashamed, but he's not ashamed because of the view of man. He's ashamed because of how God sees him. He knows that he's not right with God. And the most important thing, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. He asked the Lord for mercy. Jesus goes on to say in verse 14, I'll tell you that this man, rather than the other, went home justified before God. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Seems a little backwards, maybe. Here we got this Pharisee, this man of God, this teacher of the Word, the teacher of the law of Moses. And he's going to be humbled. But it all goes back to the prayers, and when we look at it. The Pharisee has already exalted himself. The tax collector is very humble. In my research, I came across this little, it was actually for a teen study, and I kind of wanted to bring two balloons to do it, but I didn't. It said, as an example, for the teens when you're doing the study, take two balloons, right? Pride on one and mercy on the other, right? So you take these two balloons and you go through the passage here, and as the Pharisee is there and he's talking how great he is, all the good deeds he does, all that, you blow up the balloon that says pride on it, right? You fill it up, you get a nice big pride balloon. And then you take the other balloon that says mercy on it, and it's the tax collector's balloon, and every time that he goes and he lays himself before on the foundation of the Lord upon his judgment and says, have mercy on me, you put air in that one. But there's a difference here. On the one that says mercy on it, you tie it off at the bottom. And then you hold both balloons up and you let it go. What happens? The one with pride goes away, right? The one who exalted himself and had the big, full pride balloon falls back to the earth. The one with the mercy, God's mercy on it, stays afloat and is lifted up. So this tax collector, this very lowly man, goes down to his house. He went home justified before God. And as a result of this humbleness, he will be exalted. It's a pretty powerful message when you take it back to what I was saying before about the acknowledgement of where we currently stand. Maybe if when I came back from deployment, I acknowledged that I needed him before the fact. We would have never had that argument, and I would have never had to move my mouth. Things worked themselves out, and now I can stand a very humble man, which I think most wives do for us as well. Yeah. So, I was talking to Kevin about this, and I called and I said, hey, I've got a question, and I've got to know this, because I can't stand up in front of a group of people and say what I want to say, what the Word is telling me, without getting it checked off by the pastor. And I said, does God demand humbleness? Is it a requirement to be godly, to be humble? To which his reply was,
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So I started looking through the Bible, and it's not the only example. There are plenty of examples throughout the Word where God steps in and He is very direct and very humbling of people. But the one where I kind of found that message and I heard the Word speak to me and say, this is God making a demand that someone be humble before Him. That it is a requirement, and it's where Aaron and Moses go back to the Pharaoh after the 7th plague and before the 8th. So before the plague of the locusts. And they go back to Pharaoh and they tell him, this is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says. How long will you refuse to humble yourself before me? So these are words translated by Aaron and Moses directly to the Pharaoh. How long will you refuse to humble yourself before me? I have cast upon Egypt 7 plagues. I've given you boils, I've turned your water to blood. I've done all these things, and still you refuse to acknowledge that I am the God, to let my people go and let them come home to worship me, to see me through. God demands that you acknowledge that He is God, that He is the Lord, that through Him all things are possible, and only through Him all things are possible. So then the question came to me, how do I make sure I hold myself on a daily basis? Then I realized I know what the dictionary says about humble, but I didn't know what the dictionary said about humble. I had some kind of hillbilly logic about what humble was. And it's okay for me to say that. I'm hillbilly from the roots. So, again, talking to Kevin, right? And does anyone in here know the difference between the word humility and the word humble? Don't worry, I did not either. But I asked, and I got a pretty good answer, because here I was trying to develop this sermon, and I am trying to separate, okay, I want to talk about being humble, but I don't want to drag it into humility. And then what I quickly realized is that's impossible. You can't do it. Because humility is a noun. It's a thing as real as you and me, man, woman, dog, cat. It's a noun. It's a person, place, or thing. It's an actual noun. But its definition is a little quirky when you think about the definition of a noun. See, humility is the act of being humble. So the act of being humble, or the act of humility, the act of being humble, is tied directly with the word. You can't separate it. But then I had me confused because I'm like, well, we always say the humble man. He was acting humble. He accepted the award of humbleness. Well, okay, now I'm thoroughly confused. I have no idea. English. Let's just put the words together how we want to be done. So then you go back and you look up the word humble, and its definition is something along the lines of not proud, not arrogant. Lowly is actually in there. As it's like the third definition of dictionary. It's got the little 1, 2, 3s. But there's something powerful in realizing that it's an adjective. Now, an adjective modifies a noun, right? So when you're saying the humble man, the man is the noun, humble is the adjective. It's a characteristic or a trait of that man. And I believe that's pretty important to realize that, well, at least for me, I've used those two words interchangeably forever. Because I've tried to make a distinction. But they are directly tied together, directly linked, and you can't have one without the other. And if you try to have one without the other, God's going to step in and make sure that you get back. Because you can walk around and call yourself humble, but if you don't display the humility that is that actual physical thing, you can't do it. And then there was another thing, important point now that we're done with English class. Sorry it took me back a minute. Not very good at it, but that was a pretty good wake-up call for me. There's a website out there called Bible Gateway. Now this website is awesome. You can get multiple translations of the Bible. You can go through, you can click words. One of the cool things about it is that you can see the original Greek translation of words. And this is where everything in this entire parable changed for me in how I saw the tax collector. I'm not going to try to pronounce the original Greek word. That is not going to happen. I can tell you from math class that there's some taus, some omegas. I can name all the Greek letters and how they relate to math, but I cannot actually say the word, and I'm not even going to attempt. Set on Google Translate, you get on Google Translate, put something in, and you hit the button like 7 times trying to figure out how to say it. And I felt like I was learning Japanese all over again. But it is important. I'm going to call you back if you can go back and look at the end of verse 13. And the last two words there where the tax collector says, a sinner. Now the original Greek translation is the sinner. And the reason it was so changing for me, the reason that it overly the way that I saw the tax collector, I was like, cool, the guy's being humble, he's got it, he's not looking up to God, he knows he's doing wrong, okay, cool, great, let's fix it now, he's got to press on and get better, right? But it changes when he goes from a sinner to the sinner. Remember when Paul, right, the lowest of the apostles, very humble, very inward look. The tax collector here is doing the same thing. He's saying, the sinner. I'm not characterizing, I'm not judging other people. As the Pharisee was when he said, don't let me, or thank God I'm not like the tax collector. Here he is saying, I don't care about the group of people. I don't care about all the other sinners. I'm looking at the sinner, me. A very inward look, a very self-aware look. I am the sinner. Me and me alone have offended God. I didn't do it because Kevin made me do it. I didn't get in an argument because Ken made me do it. That was my fault. It's ownership. There's a self-awareness and a level of ownership there that, to me, just completely transformed that piece of Scripture. When he says, the sinner. And we need to maintain that self-awareness. And it's going to be pretty important when I kind of get down to the end here and I wrap up with a definition, or my definition of humble. You can choose to accept or reject it. It's up to you. Red pill, blue pill, you're wrong. But then I got to thinking about that. And when he's saying this sinner, the tax collector is speaking to his own heart. And in 1 Samuel 16, verse 7, realize what God looks for in us, how he sees us. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Now what's going on here in Samuel is that Samuel has been sent out to basically anoint the next king of the Jews. And when he gets there, when Samuel gets there, he sees David's brothers, and he says, oh, this must be the guy. Look at his appearance. Clearly, is this the king? God says, no, he's wrong. And he goes all the way down through that until we get down to David, and they say, oh, that kid's out in the field somewhere. And Samuel's like, well, no, bring him to me. He's the one chosen by God. So to put that in context of what's going on here. But people look at the outward appearance. We go back to the sinner, right? When we sit here, we say we're a group of sinners. We all sin. No, you sin. And we look at that outward appearance. We're quick to judge someone else. But the Lord looks at the heart, and he looks at what is true to your heart. Has anyone ever worked with Habitat for Humanity? Yeah. You ever walk away feeling bad from that? No. I don't think it's possible to do it. Does everyone understand what Habitat for Humanity is? If someone doesn't, please raise your hand. Okay, no hands? Got someone. One of the things that I think is good in Habitat for Humanity is it pulls a lot of people that are, on an earthly appearance, we say that the work is far below their station. What they go out there and they do, this manual labor, the driving of the nails, and the packing of cement bags around to build these homes and do these things for these disadvantaged people, sometimes there are people out there that just don't do that type of work. I had back in, when I was stationed at Scott Air Force Base in southern Illinois, we were down in East St. Louis, and if you don't know about East St. Louis, it was the #1 most dangerous city for like 3 years in a row. Not really a great place to be. But there were some people down there that needed some help, so we volunteered and we pushed out and we went down there. What I found amazing is U.S. Bank, the Midwest headquarters of U.S. Bank, is located in downtown St. Louis. There was a VP of operations, I believe is who it was, who was a very corporate guy, who had nothing to do with construction, but he was out there bringing us shingles on a roof so that we can nail it down. It was very powerful to me, because that's well below his station. This is a guy who could just buy the house, pay someone to build it, or pay someone to come in instead, but he chose to be there. And I think there's a lot to be said about that selfless service and being humble. It's one of those very humbling things. It's a way to put things back in perspective to yourself and understand that through service we gain humbleness because we remove ourselves from our projected stations that we put ourselves upon. God hasn't put us there. We have put ourselves upon. In our minds we make it up. You're just like rank in the military. You know, you see it all the time. A general's coming. Well, we better run and do all this stuff, right? When the general gets there, he don't care if you've done all that stuff. I have literally painted grass green in my military career for generals' visits. Right? And when he got there, he did not care about the grass. But it's that humble setback of understanding your position and then being willing to move beneath your position to serve at a calling to where people are needed now. Where man material labor is needed now. And thanks to God giving us Jesus, we have a pretty fantastic example of that. And one of my personal favorites is at the Last Supper and the washing of the disciples' feet. I'm just going to go ahead and read it from John 13, 12 through 17, and then I'll come back and talk about it. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. Do you understand what I have done for you? This is the voice of Jesus. He asked them. You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Very truly I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. Can't say it any more clear than that. Serve to be blessed. And here we've got the Son of Man who has led the disciples across Judea proper and preached this new way of understanding how God exists. And then he gets down and he washes their feet. Now, I'm not by any way, means, or shape, or form asking you to go out back and get a basin and come in here and start scrubbing toes. Don't believe that's required. But what I'm asking you is to realize that through service comes humbleness. And Jesus served where he was. He was at the Last Supper. Did he have to do that? Absolutely not. Did anyone expect him to do it? No. Peter did not for sure, because he told him not to do it. But God brings us all to a point for a reason. He puts us all in certain places for a reason. And last time I spoke, I talked about the parable of the talents, and I alluded to how we're all given gifts, and then we're called to use them. And if we take our talent as the third slave did, and we bury it in the ground, and then we just give that same talent back to our master, we didn't meet the master's intent. Because we have not done anything with what he's given us. We've hidden it from the world, we have sheltered it. And I think we get caught up a lot of times in, I'll do that later. I'm not at the right place. I need to read the Bible more. I need to pray more. I need to make more money. I need more time. I need to go do X, Y, or Z, so I can't do what God needs me to do right now. And I'm telling you right now, that is absolutely wrong. You are here for a purpose. And now you're about to get a little bit of my testimony, and it's so powerful to me. Joined the Air Force in 2004. God sees it fit to send me to Laken Heath, England. Mom had cancer. Divert that. You're going back to Southern Illinois so that you can, right there at the Scott Air Force Base, so that you can go and you can take care of your mom. Thank God I was able to do that. It's fantastic. Take care of that. So I'm sitting there at Scott Air Force Base, and after 4 or 5 years in the military, I'm like, I have got to move. I am 6 hours away from home. This is ridiculous. I joined the Air Force to see the world. It's Illinois. Beautiful place, baby. I'm sorry. I know it's home. But it's Southern Illinois. I'm ready to move. So what do I start doing? I start putting places like Korea on my dream sheet. I start volunteering for deployments, just anything to get me out of here, right? But for some reason, there's a magnetism that helped me there. I ignored it. I'm just trying to get out. I focused on what I needed now. I needed to move. I got to move to advance my career. I got to change commands. Got to get some speckling on my resume so that I can keep pressing on. Now, in this point in time, I am started off as a E1. I know a lot of people don't see those these days, but Airman Basic slick sleeve. Didn't even have a rank when I showed up, right? And I pressed all the way up through E6 relatively fast, right? Done all that in about 5 years, 5.5 years, something like that. So, progressed really, really fast. And then something pretty fantastic happened. I plateaued. And I stopped. But then another fantastic thing happened. I met Kim. We tried to buy a house. We found out we were going to have a baby. And then they said, congratulations, you're going to Misawa, Japan. Okay, sure, we'll go do that. Actually, I was completely against it. Kim talked me into it. I was going to get out of the military and join the reserves. But she talked me into it. So we go to Misawa, and I'm pretty miserable there, actually. It's a great, beautiful place, love the food, but I actually just was not a happy person there. I was busy, I wasn't being promoted, I was being passed over for, reasons, who cares what they are, really. But something pretty fantastic happened. We come up in the last year there, right? And in the Air Force, we get promotion statements, right? That basically, if you get the big promotion statement, you're pretty much a shoo-in as long as you just take care of a few things and mark your test appropriately. So that last year, finally everything comes together. I get the check mark, and that pushes me out the door. Now, I don't actually sew on my next rank at the South, and that becomes a pretty critical point here, right? And then we get orders to Fort Riley, Kansas. I'm in the United States Air Force. I joined the Air Force for a better quality of life, not to compromise with the 1st Infantry Division in Kansas of all places, and the one place Kimmy did not want to go? Kansas, yes. She said, don't send us to Kansas, right? So here I am, I'm like, I don't understand this. But we get here, about 9 to 10 months go by, we find a church, we get involved with the men's group, and in a very quick and compressed timeline, over those past 14 years, we take and there's this thing that happens that Kevin alludes to all the time, and he says it's my growth, and it's compressed down in about 9 months, and I'm delivering my second sermon. Because I finally acknowledged that God had put me where He wanted me, and it was my turn to do something with it. That I was wasting the opportunities. I missed what He wanted me to do in Massawa. I missed everything He wanted me to do at Scott, and I needed to do something about it here at Fort Riley right now. Now let me tell you the odds of a 3 Echo X2 landing at Fort Riley. Okay? One, I had to be a tech sergeant. Had to be. The bill would not have been filled if I had served on that strike before I left Massawa. 3 months split. 90-day window for me to be here. That's the first time I realized God has been with me all along. And I had been ignoring Him all this time. We'd had some conversations. I prayed. I believed that the Pharisee did that I was doing all the right thing. I wasn't murdering people. I wasn't stealing. But I had that self-righteous security that I could just do the right things. I'll go ahead. How's He going to tell me no? When I'm standing there and He says, you're doing all the right things, but go that way. It's not going to happen. Boy, oh boy, was my eyes looking back. So, all that being said, the good Lord has brought you to a small church, tucked away on the side of a hill, in between 2 cities and surrounded by about 9, 10, 11, 12 other churches, but you found yourself here. What are you going to do? Does the church need help? Absolutely, the church needs help. Is it below your station where you're standing? Maybe it depends on your self-perception of yourself. How highly you hold yourself. Are you ready to be humble? Are you going to wait for God to take you halfway around the world to make sure you understand that you're doing exactly what He's planned for you to do all along? Or as I said in my last sermon, are you going to get off the bench and get in the game? Volunteer for something. Try it. It's not that bad. You might be terrible at it, but they invite you back to do it the second time, even if you are. So I'm going to close this morning by asking that you find whatever it is God has put you here for. And you step out of your comfort zone. And you act like Laffy Taffy, and you stretch yourself just a little bit. You go to one of the small groups. You talk to a fellow Christian. You find something the church needs. And you go and you try it out. And if it's not your cup of tea, we'll try something else. But we need you, and the Lord needs your service, and He put you here for a purpose. So in closing, I promised you a definition of humble. After all that long drawn out stuff, when we get back to this. My definition of humble is not static. I would consider it dynamic. If we think about lines on a piece of paper, and then where all those lines cross and where they intersect, if we put a dot right there, that would be humble for me, and those lines coming into it are this one, the acknowledgement and repentance of that you are the sinner. Required to be humble. 1, understanding that you are where God has put you. And 2, exercising in His service. Thank you.